Thank you for being with us today on In the Spirit Radio. We're ready for our first guest of the day, and I'm really looking forward to talking with Courtney Amundson. And we're playing selections from a CD called I Am the Center, Private Issue New Age Music in America, 1950 through 1990. A few selections from that. And then we followed that up with Sharon Silverstein and the Peace Project. Octave of Love, it's very new. SharonSilverstein.com, and we'll hear more of that. Perhaps not today, but at some point. And so let me tell you about this Courtney Amundson and her book, Teachings from God, Greeting Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within. The essence, let me start from the beginning. Where most teenagers are worrying about wearing the right lip color or following the right YouTube star, Courtney Amundson is only worried about whether the messages she is astonishingly being delivered from the divine are reaching enough people. Because Courtney was a mere 16 when she began following in the footsteps of Esther Hicks, Jane Roberts, Edgar Cayce, and J.Z. Knight as an extraordinary, powerful channeler. Now, as ripened 19 and wise beyond her years, she is introducing to the world Teachings from God, Greetings Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within, a book of loving channeled wisdom brought forth to light mankind's path in challenging times. Courtney's spiritual life began to awaken at the age of 12, beginning to practice the ancient art of Qigong. She became aware that something was happening. She says, I started to experience more of myself. The meditations were so beautiful. I found that that's all I wanted to do. I learned to move my own energy so that the channels in my body could remain open and flowing in a healthy way. I experienced my third eye opening. Her desire to know more welled within her as she committed to exploring this new path. In early 2012, she was guided to sit and meditate, and she immediately felt a natural and beautiful feeling as if an angel was in her body, just pure golden light, and a voice began to speak to me. That's when she began typing the words as she described them, messages filled with a love bigger than anything I had ever experienced, a reverence for all humanity, and a wisdom that continues to expand me. And now these messages are compiled in Teachings from God. In reading the words, the reader experiences an immersion in love, compassion, and encouragement. It's as if you have your own heavenly cheerleading squad, heartening you, gently nudging you in the direction of life-affirming choices. Through Courtney, the guides often offer a perspective of one's place in the cosmic landscape and how we can make the most of our time here on Earth while enhancing our eternal energetic footprint. And I'm very happy to say Courtney has joined us on the line, so let's say hello. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Gary, and hi to everyone that's listening. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, too. Thank you for being here. And I'm so happy that I was able to get your book, and it has touched me so deeply. What I'd like to do at some point, we'll read certain passages from the book. And, if someone has wrote in your book that you could open any page and you get the teaching. Sometimes I will open a page and then I'll just start reading and reading and reading because I want to learn more and more and more,
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, my God, being a young woman and a girl, with this is very, very unusual, isn't it?
I think it is in a sense, but I've also come to see, I now notice these gifts in other people. They just haven't nurtured it the way that I have. And part of that is just having parents that have really allowed me to explore that area of myself, explore spirituality. And I think a lot of kids and a lot of young adults, they're having similar experiences, maybe not as drastic as me, but they are having, experiences of higher consciousness, and they're just not allowing it to come forth. So I don't think it's unusual as much as it seems to be. I think this is becoming more mainstream, and that's part of my my goal is to help it to as I teach and as I travel and as I continue to write books. I want to make this information and this work mainstream so that everybody can apply it in their life.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful intention on that. Tell, I read how this came to you, but in your own words, why don't you share with us when this started and how did you feel about it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I started listening to the Abraham Hicks material when I was quite young, and my mom used to listen to it, The Law of Attraction and The Secret and a lot of those kinds of books. So it was kind of already in my consciousness, but I never really paid much attention to it when I was really young. And then as I got older, probably around, I want to say 15, 16 is when I started to kind of tune in more to that. And I started listening to Conversations with God for Teens, and that's one of the Abraham Hicks CDs. And I found the questions that other teens were asking to be so relatable to me. I was asking the same questions, I just hadn't ever talked about it with anyone else. And so it was really, I found like this community with this CD and with the other kids that were asking these questions on the CD. And so I started to really dive deeper into my spiritual quest, and I started doing a lot of research on past life regression and children who were able to recall their past lives. And then one day I had an awakening myself, and I think just all of that asking for so long, all of that yearning to know what's beyond my own consciousness or what's beyond myself, it just kind of exploded one day. And I was, the way that it happened, I was just meditating like any other day, and as you read earlier, I had this experience of this like golden angelic presence that kind of came through the top of my head. And when this happened, I just almost became like, I don't want to say paralyzed, but you know when you're in a deep meditation and all of a sudden it just like you don't want to move because it's something is happening and you're not quite sure, but it feels really good.
Yeah.
And so I was in that kind of state, and I was just like paying attention, but my mind was also like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Oh my gosh. So I was kind of half like really excited and half just kind of I don't know what's happening. And but then I started recalling Esther Hicks' story and how she started having these conversations with source energy, which she calls Abraham. And I remembered how it started for her, and it was kind of happening to me the same exact way. So I just calmed myself down. I was like, okay, I know what's happening. I'm making a connection. And I had meditated, for a really long time, since I was about 9, but it was more just about visualization and working on clearing blockages in my body. So it was more from the Qigong perspective. And then all of a sudden I felt that there was this angel like in my body, and I felt that this presence wanted to talk with me and communicate with me. And it was, I say it was an angel, but it was such a big presence. It wasn't just like a singular being. It was like the whole universe. It was like this extremely wise, unconditional love type of presence. And it just, when it filled me up, my body was just like, it could barely hold all of it.
Yeah.
And so I started to feel like, okay, I need to release this energy some way. And so I went to the computer and put my hands down on the keyboard, and I just said, whatever you want to say, whatever you need to tell me, I'm all yours, basically. And closed my eyes, and my fingers started to type. And as I was doing this incredible, like, bliss, I just felt incredible bliss, like chills, everything. And still in this, like, paralyzed, like, I don't want to move type of feel. And it was so incredibly beautiful. I just felt like on top of the world, beyond my human self. And then I didn't really know what was going on the keyboard. I was kind of having my own experience. And after that first session, I read it back, and it was kind of blowing me away. And so I knew from that point that I was just going to dedicate my time every day to doing this. And I started having some crazy experiences of just awakening within myself. And then as I continued to go along, and it accelerated very quickly. Within the first week, within the first 7 days, I already had 50 pages, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. And then I started to recognize that the teachings were going deeper and more universal, and that's where I started the book. So that's kind of my story. And now for me, this is just kind of integrated in my daily life, and it's not really about like sitting down and like channeling. It's more that every expression for me is like channeling. So it's become me now.
Wow. Now, there's a lot of material here, all right? Mm-hmm. A lot of material. Do you think there is, I imagine, is this complete in and of itself, and is this going to continue in another book as well?
Well, I know there is more to come. This is the type of thing it's infinite information, and it's interesting that you say that, because I'm curious about it too. I have been waiting for the day where there's something there to keep writing, and it's not there yet. So I think that might be me. I think I'm, in my own evolution, my own journey. I'm just not to that point yet. So there's some understanding, some things that I have to move through or deepen into before I think that's going to start coming through. But of course, I'm going to write more books. Of course, I'm going to, continue this in one way or another. But there's definitely room for infinite knowledge to come forth.
I picked up on a few themes here I'd like to talk about from your reading the book. But before we get into that, and maybe a couple of the themes will come out of a passage I'm about to read. Do you have the book with you right now?
Let me see.
Yeah.
I think I do.
I'm going to go to page 286 under the beginning of that chapter, Recognition.
Okay.
Would you like to read? I was going to read, let's say,
Sure.
the first couple paragraphs. Why don't you read it?
Okay. I got to get to the page.
286.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, chapter 44.
Yes.
The great beauty within the human being is scrumptious, We love to be in your grace and feel your presence as another face of us behind the veil and beyond the grid. You see, it is beyond something that we marvel at, for the human being always proves to stretch the boundaries in ways that are beyond thought and the mind's capabilities. You become so singular, yet you have the ability to expand your consciousness and allow the all-knowingness to flood in. How great you are. We think it's fascinating that you can reemerge, as do we, into a reality that is so opposite, so much more authentic and all-knowing. What you accomplish as you are fooling around down on earth is miraculous. Mm-hmm. You put so much of you aside in the beginning, yet you maintain enough composure and identity within that. We think the mind is quite pervasive, but how beautiful you are to find yourself now in these times, and to say for certain, Yes, I am that. I am all of that, and I am also this little singular body right now. But I know it is a dream. You accept it, yet you move forward to be the co-creator of your reality with such oomph, grace, courage, and beauty. And you still ask for more again. We say to you, bravo, bravo, dear one.
It's beautiful.
I love that. Okay, I haven't read that in a long time now.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a powerful thing, and it's amazing to me the reverence that this, the spirit, this state, the source energy has for us and knows us so personally. And I think it's crazy that we signed up for this experience to be human and to be inside of the box, even though we knew that it would feel limiting in so many ways. So I like that. I like the part where it says, I am also this little singular body right now, but I know it's a dream. It's like seeing that you're more, but also honoring that you are human. I like that.
Yeah, so I thank you. I was getting from reading your book, I was starting to feel, how we all are, in some way or another, many of us have addictions, whether it's food or, TV or whatever it is. You could, there's this thing that we go to whenever we're feeling insecure or lonely,
Mm-hmm.
and it, because we know it's always there, although it doesn't give us the life-giving energy that we're due. Still in all, when I was saying to a friend, I was saying, well, I'm talking about addictions and this stuff, and then my friend called me. I talked to her this morning. She goes, well, how are you doing with that? I go, doing with what? And she goes, your addictions. I go, no, I've got a whole change of heart around that. Everything in my life is a tool for transformation. Everything.
Right.
So I got out of that mindset that I have to change myself, that I'm not good enough, that I have these addictions. No, that's not true. There's nothing wasted. There's nothing wasted.
Right. Yeah, everything is perfect, and I think that's another thing that I've been trying to bring to light for people is everything that happens to you is for you, and sometimes you can feel on top of the world, and like when I was writing this book, I felt on top of the world. I felt like I had ascended all of my problems, all of my doubts, all of my fears, and I went into this just space of complete trust, and I've had, so many different, periods, phases in my life, and, now I'm in a different one, and tomorrow I'll be in a different one, so
right.
you can't judge yourself. The challenges are
yeah.
part of the experience.
Yeah, exactly. And what's amazing, that when you're ready, you'll be given the next opportunity to ascend further,
Right.
And how do you spell it? How do you pronounce your last name?
Amundson.
Okay. Courtney Amundson. All right. Just this morning, and I we live in a spiritual universe, I'm convinced. And you will get the experience that's just right for you. This morning, two of my close friends called me up, and all three of us were engaging in such positive, supportive communication with each other. And it felt so good. It felt so good. And it says somewhere in this book, these are the kind of communications you want. Positive, uplifting. So you want to be able to get in a place where you can give and not focus so much on what you think is wrong or where you're insufficient in some way. Because in truth, you got to, once you see the illusion of that, you see there's nothing to change. You're all right as you are, and you can be supportive of others. Because I've seen myself in those needy places.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I've been practicing mindfulness for myself and just being able to separate, facts from judgments. And I think it goes along with what you said is, when you have something going on within yourself, when you're telling this story about yourself and replaying that over and over and over again, if someone else, if your friend or your parents or whatever, they come at you with a different story and it's it repels the story that you've been playing within yourself, then you're going to resist it, or you're going to say they're wrong, or victimize yourself, or something else that's negative. It doesn't support you. So it's kind of like a constant journey of monitoring yourself and how your reality is actually just mirroring, everything that seems outside of you.
Very true. So the mindfulness practice, the meditation, the going within, and I think that I have been especially, I have been working on that all my life in some way or another. Just recently, yesterday, I was in a natural environment out at a beautiful resort area, a spiritual resort area called Cropalo here in Lenox, Massachusetts. I don't know whether you've heard of it, but I was just sitting out there outdoors, just overlooking a lake, and I had your book, Teachings from God, Greeting Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within, and that plus the meditation I was doing and the deep breathing. We really do need to take action to get us in this place at the right. We need we can accept everything is fine and leading to this point, but at some point, you will know this is the time to take action for your spiritual development.
Yeah.
In fact, every moment should be devoted to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, the big part of this book is about dedicating energy to yourself, because just reading the book alone, it's going to do, I don't want to say it's going to do very little for you, but action is required.
Yeah.
And it is the type of thing that will go as deep as you're allowing yourself to go. And it will continue to fluctuate, and you will continue to get new messages from it as you grow.
Yes.
So, like you said, when you are in the space of alignment with yourself, when you realize that you're the only one that's going to help yourself, the only one that is going to create the life you want, then you realize that what's most important is your own happiness, your own fulfillment, and you have to start with yourself.
Yes.
And doing that means mindfulness. Doing that means paying attention to what feels good and what doesn't, and do more of what does. And doing less out of obligation, and spending those times, by the lake in your solitude, if that is what helps you. I did the same thing yesterday. I went to the lake and I did yoga on the beach, and that was like the perfect thing I needed.
Yes.
At the moment. So that's really important.
Yeah, it is important, and you've got to be able to trust yourself that what you're doing is right. And I was getting involved in other people's problem. I was getting enmeshed, getting lost in trying in thought about my relationship with certain people. And then that was a challenge for me to let that go and realize everybody is doing what they need to do, which is perfect for them in any given moment. They don't need me, and I don't need them.
Right.
What we do is that we come together out of wholeness, not out of fracture, being a separate or needy, that as if the other person can fulfill us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a piece to being open to receiving from others.
Yeah.
In a non-attachment way. But if you're, sometimes I will do this. I will set an intention for the day, and then I'll just, tell myself I'm going to remain open for guidance, messages, support, and I'll just let myself, not hold back. I will express what I'm feeling to people openly, and sometimes when I do that, they will, unintentionally give me some kind of guidance or some kind of support that I needed. So it's also about recognizing that spirit flows through all things, nature, through other people, through a song you hear on the radio. It's flowing all the time, and you're getting guidance all the time. You just have to recognize it. So it's not always codependency. Sometimes it's just about thanks for reminding me of that. So.
Yeah, well, thank you, too. I'm wondering if you'd like to read another passage I have outlined. Sure. It's on page 196.
Okay. I love doing this because it's really beyond the words, as you know.
Yeah.
The way that it feels when you read it, and the people that are listening, when you get this book and when you dive in it to yourself, it becomes a journey.
It becomes a journey, yeah.
Yeah. So what paragraph?
I'd like you to start. It's the third paragraph down. It says the earth plane is so great and so vast. So you see where it starts there? The earth, yeah. And start there, and if you would, read right up to the end of the first paragraph on the next page.
Okay.
Okay.
The Earth experience, no, that's not what it says. The Earth plane is so great and so vast, and you reside on it for the purpose of shifting the consciousness of the planet and to change the way that you work together both physically and metaphysically. It goes much beyond the physical realm, yet sometimes you still relate yourself only to the physical realm that you reside in. You must see past the mind, dear ones, for it allows you to expand your consciousness in ways that you don't even know exist. It allows you to expand your love and compassion for the human beings who are not alike you, who are not your friends and family. But you seek them out because you feel you are so connected and in love with each of them. They are your family, as are we. We are your family, one big family. Some of us are in the light, and some are in the dark. This does not mean in terms of rank, importance, how much you are loved, or how enlightened you are. We speak in terms of a great mission as a bigger picture. We speak of this so that you can relate yourself to the support system that is waiting for you to knock on the door. We want you to relate to us as your family, as the beings who are just as involved in your life experience as your close family and friends. We are inevitably one with you, with your life's creative process, and with all the many life experiences you have endured over many, many years. You are the greatness that we speak of so often, and you sometimes let it sink in, and other times dismiss it to come back to it because it is somehow over your heads. Yes, the mind shows up again, fighting to regain strength, but each time you read these words, you awaken the heart and awaken the soul to the unconditional knowingness that you are. You will then find out for yourself why we say that you are divine in every aspect. You know it inside. When the mind shows up, do not try to fight it. Instead, just let it come and go.
I like that. Just let it come and go. Don't try to fight it. That's very wise teaching right there.
Yeah, I need to follow that.
Well, you all do. So even though you're channeling this material, you're still working, right? Spiritually on yourself, right?
I'm working really, really hard right now. And, And that's something that people don't really always assume, is that they think because I channeled this book that I have integrated all of this and I've perfected it. And honestly, what's happened is that I've gone so much more deep into my human experience that I'm really living from moment to moment. And I have decided that I'm going to deepen into myself, that I want to be my highest expression. And to do that, it means you have to experience every facet of the human experience. So not just seeing from this source energy bird's eye view, it means really being human. So right now, I'm really being human, and some days are just really tough, and some days are, I feel peace, I feel trust, and like I said before, day to day is so different for me now, and I'm just realizing, you have to be humble, you have to really live in the moment, just experience in the moment, and just have gratitude for the moment, because you don't know what's to come. You don't know, what tomorrow will bring, and so yeah, like this says, don't fight the mind. Go with it, move through it. When emotions come up, when struggle comes up, it's hard not to resist it because it doesn't feel good. But when you resist it, you're saying I don't want to experience this. You're saying, I don't want to experience the teaching in this. And the truth is, none of us are making it out alive. So, there's time to explore.
Yeah.
There's time to move through all this and struggle, and it's all part of the journey.
Well, part of and they're saying, we are eternal beings, and death is death is a great passage. There's they say, of course, we have so much fear, but from their perspective, it's a liberation.
Oh yeah, it's a graduation, and we have many graduations in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And I see life to be eternal now. I don't see this existence to be my life. I see my entire soul's evolution to be my life.
That's a beautiful perspective. I like that, and yeah, I'm working on that myself. We got to do a short station break, Courtney, and we'll be right back. Okay, about a few seconds long. All right, thank you.
10,000 watts of pure alternative radio. This is 91.5 WRPI Troy.
Yes, you're listening to WRPI Troy. Thank you. 91.5 FM and live on the internet, www.wrpi.org. I want to thank everybody that's listening today to In the Spirit Radio. And I'm your host, Gary Goldberg, of course. And Courtney Amundson is with us. The book that is released is Teachings from God, Creating Your Soul and Revealing the Divine Within. And you may contact the author at www.teachingsfromgod.com. Her Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and blog links are found on the website. So, Courtney, this is an opportunity. You're really extending yourself out through all these social media. And when was the book released?
It was released in December, and that's when when the paperback came out. But I did an ebook version before because I was just so anxious to get it out there, and
yeah.
But I wrote the majority of this when I was 16 and 17, so it was about 4 years ago.
Okay.
Now.
Well, 4 years ago, this book, and now we're reading it. But these are eternal teachings.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I had an interview recently, and the host was asking me, I was doing a channeling, and he asked me, whether these teachings would be applicable, going forward in the future, or if there's going to be a time when, humanity ascends to a point where this isn't really relatable anymore. And the answer was that it will continue to grow with us, and there's never going to be a point where it kind of expires, because our understanding of it will deepen, and we're going to find new things in it that we can't even see now. So I think that was fascinating.
Yeah. This book is a preparation. Do you feel that other people are also writing books of this nature?
Yes, I do, but I feel that this is unique. It's something different than anything else I've read. Again, I've read a lot of channeled material. I've been listening to the Cryon materials for a long time, and Abraham Hicks and Bashar and, all of those things. I dabbled into them, but what I found in the end is that I needed to go within myself to really uncover the deepest of deep. And I think that, and I don't want to say this has to do with my age or my evolution or whatever, but I do feel that I really had no concept of anything before I went into this. I had no concept of God, and so it really opened this pure channel, this pure vessel, where I was just letting it come out. And I think that gives it a different flavor, because just the fact that I was learning such deep things that weren't in my consciousness at the time. Of course, it was within me, but I didn't know it was there. So it's kind of just proof that these things are real, and so I'm sure there are many other people out there that are doing similar things. But I definitely feel this is a unique kind of energy, a unique kind of book. It's not just the information level. And the Seth books, I read like a tiny bit of the first Seth book, and it was very fascinating, but I didn't get too much into it because it was a little bit too much in the mind for me.
Yes.
Information is great, but I felt that we had ascended past that in a way. And this is coming from, this much broader source. And
it is it's a collective of consciousness, not in physical form.
Right, and I think, and I've been told that though, we might put names on these beings or on these collectives, but honestly, it's all coming from the same soup. It's coming from the same source. And what comes through, if there's a name like Seth or Abraham, it's just for us to be comfortable with that. And at the time, I don't think, at the time that the Seth stuff started coming through, I don't think we were ready to, we saw it as a person,
Yes.
And I think that was just for us. It was for our own evolution. The way that it came through had filters in it. Whether that was because of Jane or because of humanity's consciousness at the time. But, I do feel that this has less veils in a way. And I do think as we continue to evolve as humanity, others that start doing this, and we're going to see even less veils going forward.
It's very interesting. A number of years ago, I went through a tough breakup with a romantic breakup,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very. I couldn't even sleep. I remember one night I was just tortured, and I was laying in bed. And I just got up, and at the time, this was even before. This was before I had a computer. I had a typewriter sitting on a table in one of my rooms. I went over and sat at the typewriter, and I started typing, and all this wisdom started coming out. Right, one page at a time, and it was just like poetry from the beyond. It was just like unbelievable, and I started putting it together. This communication, and I realized. And then, I just let it come through, and then I had a friend for a while that I would let it speak through me. It went on for a while. I had gathered some material. I even was reading it in poetry groups, but they weren't too interested in anything spiritual beyond the physical. So that really didn't. That was more like for me than for the audience. I don't think they could get it. And I even put a compilation and I gave it to well-known poets from New York City, and one of them said very good, but I realized it really for me, this was for me. These were messages for me, and I realized it came through at a time I most needed it, and to help me get out of the funk of the separation that I was feeling from my previous loved one. It was still loved one. It's still connected to my heart, but the separation was so hard. So, but then I found truly that the love is within me. But even though I did have this experience, I could talk and I could feel that energy. It was beyond the human, and it had an eternal quality to it. There was no worry. There was no concern about the human level. I never experienced such peace. So what you just said. That people can tap into this for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what this book is helping us to do. It's if you really listen to the words, if you really go deep into your own experience, you'll realize that this is not just about me delivering a book for you to read. It's not about that. It's not, for me, this was my personal journey, and I'm just sharing it with you, but what it really is a personal journey for everyone that reads it, and so it grows with you and it grows on you. I mean, you start to feel that like this presence is part of you, because it is. And
Definitely.
So absolutely you can do it for yourself, because we're all connected to the same source. This isn't a separate source, that I'm tapping into. This
Right.
is something that's separate from you. Just because I tapped into it doesn't mean it's my own personal one. So I think we have to debunk that, because a lot of people, and it's unconscious, but a lot of people feel that there's a bunch of different gods based on your own beliefs. And it makes sense, because we're all coming from this human level, but we're all connected to the same source energy.
Yes.
That it has nothing to do with our image of God. It has to do with the source that we were birthed from. And we might all have different definitions of God, but that doesn't matter to read this book. All that matters is your openness to learning more, your willingness to expand your consciousness without resisting. You're going to definitely come across things that, will stretch you. And I had the same thing. It was like, sometimes my own consciousness or beliefs about things would get in the way temporarily, and then I had to let go. Go deeper. And I kept just telling myself, you don't know anything. So just be open, because you don't know what's beyond your mind. You don't know what's beyond your consciousness. You have to trust the universe. You have to let the universe give you the answers. So I think in life we have to have that conversation with ourselves on a daily basis, to never get into a place where we're so resistant to learning more because we feel like we figured it out.
Always keep an open mind. Keep open for something new to come through.
Yeah.
Once we start thinking that, we've got it all together and we don't need anything, we're setting ourselves up.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I want to, I'd like to read a passage from the book now, okay?
Sure.
It's on page 19.
Okay.
And it's the third paragraph down.
Okay.
So here I go, reading. The most important concept of today is to learn to use free will, to give up the fear in your heart. All is connected to the heart, and it is the king of your beingness. Let it shine over all else. You can determine where you want to be. Let your heart shine all over that, for it will give you pleasure beyond what you can imagine. Remember above all else that you are God. You have all that you need to succeed today. All will flow with pure thoughts, true love, and great fun. The more you remember this, the less you will have to check in and be reminded of who you are. Live it. You will be given it, and we hear your every prayer. They are answered when you choose. They are to be answered. Your heart is giving out so much love now. Let yourself let go and be in love with all that is. It is so beautiful and so invigorating. The more you know who you are, the easier it becomes to give in to who you are, and the less troublesome it is to your mind. You have all that you need to create the life that you dream of. The grace is given now and always. Dear soul, you have nothing to plan, you see, nothing to plan in the slightest bit. It will save you much time. You often get yourself so stuck because you believe so strongly that using your mind to solve problems will fix them, though in fact, you only waste your emotions on things that are not in your hands to fix. So I'm going to stop there, we're almost done. I would love to continue, but I think one of the real strong themes is that when you read your book, Teachings from God, you're talking about teachings from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because the God within you, mm-hmm. We are all gods, right?
We're all part of the
You're
same
all part of the same
energy.
Same energy, which we call God.
Right, and you can call it whatever you want, and it doesn't matter. It just matters the relationship you have to it, and you can call it love, you can call it light, you can call it the universe.
Right.
You can call it the Buddha,
Yeah. I want to tell our listeners again, you may contact the author, Courtney Amundson, Amundson, at teachingsfromgod.com is the website, and she's also on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and blog links are found on the website. Well, we've come up against time. So time, it says we have to move on to the next guest. So I want to thank you, and I'd love to have you on the program again if you'd like.
Oh, I'd love to. Thanks so much for having me on the show, Gary.
Oh, you're welcome. If you'd like to stay on the line, I'll speak with you off air for a moment.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.